I mean, for the listeners and the people who perhaps don't know your name and don't know who you are, could you give us a little brief episode about your career and who you are?
Well, I'm a professional writer. I started out in journalism. I was managing editor at Rap Pages. I've worked for The Source, Vibe, MTV, doing a lot of entertainment journalism that way, and segued into professional content creation and storytelling when I won the 2013 Top Cow Talent Hunt, which is a comic book competition. There were 11,000 entries and 3 won, and I was one of them. And I've been writing comic books professionally since then. I've written for Aspen Comics, Image Comics. I've got a new graphic novel out from Humanoids called MPLS Sound that I co-wrote. I've done a number of series with a boutique publisher called Wonderman Comics. The new one, War Medicine, will be out this fall, and Time Course 16 just came out a couple of weeks ago. It's hard for me to remember all the talking points, but I'm trying to go through them all so I don't disrespect anybody. I'm also a radio DJ. I'm also a dad. I'm also a project manager for websites. I'm also, as I said, a burgeoning dungeon master. That's coming along fairly well. And I've been working professionally in the entertainment industry since around 93 or 94. And yeah, I'm just very excited to share all the crazy stuff in my head with everybody else.
Amazing. I mean, what a career. What a career, Hannibal. I mean, the first thing that came to my attention was obviously because I'd spent some time in Minneapolis, and I worked with all the Princey people and all the Prince vibe. I was over in Paisley Park, but then all of a sudden I seen this Minneapolis Sound comic, and I thought, or you know, the whole thing, but you can tell it way better than I can. But when I saw it, and I thought, what a cool idea. So give me the vibe behind that.
All right. Well, the elevator pitch behind it is that there were a lot of bands that strived to make it in the early 80s when Prince was kind of forging his own lane musically, and all of them didn't make it. There were many tragedies that fell by the wayside for all the greats. And this is a fictionalized story of a band called Star Child, led by a woman named Teresa Booker, who were talented and had great ideas and great stuff going on, but just didn't have that exact it factor to be able to succeed and to be able to break through the zeitgeist. So there are issues of colorism there, there are issues of sexism there, there are a number of issues of personal determination and what to do with your life there that play out. But ultimately, it's a love letter to that time and, if you'll pardon the pun, and that era without looking away from the flaws that were there.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, it's graphically, it looks amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, who's involved in how did all the, because it's very much captured the time period from the images I've seen and the graphics I've seen, but it's also you know, I mean, it just looks like it's got the psychedelic thing, it's got the whole funk thing, it's got the whole, you know, it's got all the vibes going on there. So how was graphically, how was it put together as well?
Well, the artist Meredith Laxton, this was actually her first graphic novel. So she swung for the fences and really knocked it out of the park there, with colors by Tan Shu and letters by Troy Piteri, who's a good friend of mine I've known for many years. And it was co-written by myself and Joseph Illich, who's a longtime DC Comics editor. He's worked at Milestone. He's done a little bit of everything. He's a heavy metal, Valiant. He's done a little bit of everything. So the work that was done in terms of research, for example, I not only hired a woman who lives in Minneapolis to go around and take a lot of pictures, but I also sat down with her for a number of interviews. One of the parents at my daughter's school just moved to Los Angeles from Minneapolis after growing up there. So I had these two perspectives, this one Caucasian lady and this one African-American lady who had very different perspectives of Minneapolis. And I was able to interview them and get a lot of their insights of, oh, this is a store that we would go to, but we wouldn't go to that store because that's where the other side of town went and things like that. Those kind of important details were key in making the authenticity pop. Even if they're not explicitly stated, they're underground there. And watching that translated through Meredith's amazing skill and the colors that Tanshu put on it, just really, it really started to take on a life of its own. And it was really enjoyable for Joe and I to get the pages coming back like, whoa, that's exactly what I thought. And I was like, oh, this story is great because this story's on this corner and you got this one detail about it that, you know, is, again, if you're not from Minneapolis, I grew up in Memphis, Joe grew up in New York. We have a perspective that lacks that authenticity that we wanted to make sure to do the proper research and install into it.
Well, it certainly looks incredible. When is it coming out, and when can people buy it?
It actually is out. It came out April 14th, and it is available, at least in the United States. I have to apologize to all of my international. Humanoids is a company that's based in France, so I know they have international ambitions. I've seen the French edition is out. I've seen that the French language edition is out. In other countries, I'm less sure, but in America, it came out April 14th. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, all the big chain things, because Humanoids is a big publisher and they pushed it very hard. So if it's not available in your country, it should be available there shortly because they're rolling it out with a very aggressive timeline.
And there's, you know, I mean, again, I've not managed to read it yet, but I'm going from the images that I've seen. I've seen a few of Prince, definitely. I mean, the kind of controversy type thing, and so does Prince feature in the storyline then?
We had an interesting, because, you know, estates and legalities being what they are, we had an interesting tightrope act to walk there. There's involvement of Prince, but like we never have Prince directly speak because we don't want to get sued for that. Prince speaks through a proxy in the same way that if you saw like when he had Beyonce going around and he would whisper things to Beyonce and Beyonce would say things, he has a proxy in that period that acts in that role for him. So this is that transitional period because it's before Purple Rain, but after controversy. So it's, you know, he's growing into this star identity and people are coming to accept this star presence in Minneapolis, which is already a very musical city, as you likely know. I mean, Husker Du, The Replacements, there was already a lot of stuff going on. And at the time, a third of all the cassette tapes in the world were processed through a plant in Minneapolis. So they had a very, I know, right? So they had a very strong musical backbone that was coming through the town. People would come to make sure that the shipments were right, and they would do a show at First Avenue, or they'd do a show, you know, and it was a very strong musical backbone to what was happening in Minneapolis, despite its very industrial kind of roots. And making sure we got that transition point, that stepping off of the 70s funk and disco into the more 80s kind of vibe of it, and making sure that transition was properly visually cataloged and also in the script was something the entire team worked very hard on.